But like I said last night, man, it's a lot of things to be proud about with this group.
We did a lot of things that people didn't think we were going to do this year. We fought to the end, and that's all I could ask for.
We have ignited a belief.
I think the city of Chicago is definitely yearning for a team like this, a season like this, and I think that's something that they can come to expect.
I see this being sustainable. I've seen what it looks like, and I feel like we can win here in Chicago.
And knowing that, we can't be complacent. We got to keep pushing forward.
There is no building off of this. We go back to square one. We were back at the bottom again. If you feel otherwise, you're probably missing the big picture.
This league is different. It's a beast. You only get so many chances at it.
We got to start from scratch. We got to start from the fundamentals.
You win a bunch of games. You get into these games, playoff games, and you're winning. And you play these good teams, and you see what you have to go against. You see what championship level is. We'll figure it out. We'll come back together and find a way to go get back in the playoffs, back in the run, because that's where you ultimately want to be every single year.
Welcome into Chicago Sports Tonight. I'm Cassie Carlson. Ben Johnson said the Bears are one of 31 teams who fell short, so now he is looking forward to 2026. A year he said will be extremely different and difficult to get back to where they finished this season. And the changes are already beginning with the coaching staff, and more will be on the way with free agency. But despite Ben Johnson saying they are starting from the bottom, the Bears are in a way better place than they were a year ago. And because of that, Johnson is a finalist for Coach of the Year. But does he have a shot to win? And how do the Bears get back to the playoffs? That's all coming up tonight on CST.
From Fox 32 Chicago Sports, this is Chicago Sports Tonight.
Let's welcome in 670 The Score's Lawrence Holmes. You can hear him weekdays from 2 to 6 o'clock on Spiegel and Holmes. Lawrence, Ben Johnson, and Ryan Poles put a bow on the 2025 season with their end-of-season press conferences this week. What were your takeaways from hearing from the head coach and general manager after making it to the divisional?
I thought that it was pretty clear that what we saw was Ben Johnson being in charge of this franchise. And I don't mean that as a slight to Ryan Poles. I think it shows tremendous character on his part to kind of sublimate his own ego, to understand that the lead football voice of the Bears should probably be Ben Johnson. And he's earned that right. So that was the first thing that kind of jumped out to me, that it wasn't what we're used to seeing at end of season Bears press conferences where everyone's kind of lined up and there's a lot of talk about how things are going to get better. This was in some ways a little bit of a celebration of what the season was, the development of Caleb Williams, and then Ben continuing to kind of carve out and make his vision be something that everyone can understand. So I really thought from that standpoint, they knocked it out of the park with that, like putting him up front. And over the last season, Ryan Poles kind of being more in the background as those two guys have built their partnership.
One of the best things Ben Johnson did in his first season was cultivate this staff that he called a five-star staff after evaluating what they did this past season. And I remember when we were at the Combine, he said, I didn't just go out and hire my friends. This was very strategic of who he brought in and why he brought them in. Now you win games and you have the ultimate problem that these guys are going to get plucked. So here's what Ben Johnson had to say about the possible changes to his coaching staff.
I see future head coaches on this staff. I see future coordinators. I see these young coaches being future position coaches. I see that all across the board. And so when you have success and you win games, normally that's what happens. I know we already have some slips coming through that other teams would like to interview some of our guys, and I'm all for it, man. I want these guys to continue to ascend. Big part of what this collection of guys brought to the table is they all wanted to be here. That was a big thing for me. I want guys that want to be here, and so if a guy wants to continue to build upon what we started, then I would love that as well. But this is a five-star staff, and it's no surprise to me that we got a number of coaches that are garnering interest right now.
And I'm sure there's a handful of coaches that want to be part of the Ben Johnson coaching tree right now. They already lost Eric Bieniemy, who goes back to Kansas City as their offensive coordinator. Defensive backs coach Al Harris interviewing for the Packers and Commanders open defensive coordinator jobs. Declan Doyle talking to Philly to become their offensive coordinator. In your eyes, which one of these guys would be the biggest loss to Ben Johnson's staff?
I think that Al Harris would be, because we saw that him change the the culture defensively, that he's the guy that got them on the idea of the takeaways and the importance of it, to the point where those guys began to covet it. It became a thing for them. And it was fun to watch. They had the cage of all of the takeaways that they had and throwing the ball in there. It's that type of thing that, for a defense that struggled when it came to giving up yards, they were bend but don't break. And they were able to do that because when it came to it, they would take the ball away. And if you've got the ability to take the ball away, and I saw this from my time of covering Lovie Smith teams, they drilled it. It became a thing. And Cassie, when it first started, when we were covering the team, we didn't know what was going on because Bears defenders were picking up incomplete passes and returning them. And it's because Lovie Smith and his staff, they wanted those guys to understand that the takeaway game was a big part of it. The numbers that Lovie Smith would throw out about if you were a +2 and a +3, how it was almost a 90% win if you were able to do that. So seeing this spin forward 20 years and Al Harris being kind of the directing and guiding light on this is big. And I think that it's going to be hard to find someone who has that experience and is able to talk to those guys in that way. I also think he is worthy of getting these opportunities.
When we talk about Ben Johnson changing the culture in Chicago, and then you hear him say yesterday that the foundation that he laid in his first season won't carry over to next season because they start at the bottom. Do you buy into that, or do you think he has carried or set a foundation that will sustain over years to come?
I think that the platform that he has built for the Bears is great, and it's a great place to start. I love hearing him talk about how there is no momentum from one year to the other. And all you have to do is look around the NFL this season. I'm sure Washington thought that they had incredible momentum going into this season. Yeah. Same thing with Detroit. Same thing with Kansas City. There's a bunch of teams out there that were poised to be championship teams built on what it was that they were last year. And then lifes, things happen. Guys get hurt. Guys become free agents. Guys leave coaching staffs. Like all of those things, whether it was Ben Johnson or Cole Kmet or Kevin Byard that said it, the idea of, this locker room is not going to be the same is legitimate. It's already changed. Eric Bieniemy is already out the door. And that's someone who helped to create the personality of the run game. And we know the run game was a big part of the Bears' success. So I like that there is a steely-eyed view by Ben Johnson about how this is supposed to work, that this is something that you can't just rest on your laurels, that you have to keep pushing and pressing. And guys will know how things work because it'll be year two, the ones that stuck around. And there will be some of those players that will be able to kind of get new players or rookies ready because they'll be in year two of Ben's program. But projecting out what a Bears team next season is going to look like, to me, has always been folly because you don't know what the injury report for week one is. And until you do, it's hard to make judgments on what they're going to be. But yes, all of the things of a successful head coach have been placed here by Ben Johnson. And I love the way that he has embraced it, that he has embraced a toughness. I love the stories. You're one of the people that would tell us about how hard those training camp practices were for Caleb Williams. And the fact that they wanted to press him and put pressure on him so they could get the best version, that's going to continue. And now you get to the end of that journey and you have Ben Johnson saying he's the number one believer in Caleb Williams. That's powerful stuff. He has gained a lot of trust inside the building at Hallis Hall. He's gained a ton of trust from Chicago Bears fans, and him embracing it, him wanting to be an ambassador for Bears football, like the good, better, best stuff, the Wiener Circle stuff, taking the shirt off in the locker room, him being at Cubs games in the fall, like in the early fall, as they were getting ready for the playoffs, like all of this stuff, he has really made himself a Chicagoan. And I think that along with the excellence that he has brought about, leads you to believe that the Bears are in a great spot.
You know, I like that Ryan Poles even brought up the fans yesterday, because he said he was getting texts from family members when they would land at O'Hare seeing all the Bears gear around the airport. And he's like, you know, we don't often acknowledge that part of this job when they're in the front office, when they're on the coaching staff. But he said, like, part of their job is to inspire a fan base and inspire a community. And I think it's okay to show that human side when you are on the team. Like, that's part of the totality of what it's like to be a Chicago Bear, especially in a city like Chicago, that, as we saw, it was on display this entire season. When the Bears are good, this city is so different. And so I actually appreciated that he acknowledged the difference that they made in the community.
I've talked to people that say when the Bears are good, Chicago is the best city in the world. Yeah. Like, that's how powerful it can be when the Bears are good. The Packers game, I had so many friends from around the country, folks that I hadn't talked to in years, text me because they were up watching the game. And the Bears have leaned into that, as they should. The sleeping giant part of the Bears as an organization is not just the fact that it's a franchise that's close to, you know, $10 billion or whatever. Part of it is that fan base is so rabid. People care. And the way that they cared, I joked about it on my podcast, House of L, that the way that Bears fans love is really amazing. And the Bears got to see that this year. You know how I know that it means a lot? Because the next 2 days, Caleb Williams was out here in these streets, and he was feeling that love at the Blackhawks game, and he was feeling that love at the Bulls game. And the love of Bears fans is undeniable. And for the Bears organizationally to get to that place is a great first step for Ben Johnson.
And I think what's going to be interesting moving forward is the level of celebrity of Caleb Williams and who that draws in outside of Chicago to become a Bears fan. Like, noticing Spike Lee on the sidelines during the wild card game, all these people that came out to see this magic show that Caleb Williams put on week after week, I think that's only going to grow. And that brand is going to extend even farther than the city of Chicago. We have to move on to our next topic because we could talk about Caleb Williams all day long too. The roster is going to look different next year. There are decisions that have to be made with a number of free agents, especially on defense. Here's what Ryan Poles had to say about making those decisions now that they're considering themselves contenders.
Yeah, you just have more constraints, but at the same time, I don't think the process changes. You're going to identify the guys that fit what we want in our football team, which Coach hit, and you just keep trying to acquire those players. We know what they look like. We know how they act. They know how they talk. And we'll continue to do that. I think that's part of the thing is, one, can you self-evaluate and be critical of yourself and your team to make sure that you know what you have in the building. I think when you see it across the league all the time, you panic and you want to do crazy things that everybody else wants you to do. It leads to some situations that you can't get out of. So we want to stay flexible. We want to stay open-minded. We want to stay committed to building this team the right way, because I think that's the best way to sustain success.
All right, Lawrence, you look at the free agents the Bears have on their roster currently. I think mainly people are eyeing Kevin Byard, Jaquan Brisker. I don't believe you can keep both. I would imagine you're either going to get one or the other. Who would you prioritize in that scenario?
Oh, it's so rough. Jaquan Brisker, I thought, one, he stayed healthy all year. Two, you look at the impact that he had in playoff games. I've always liked him as a player. When he got drafted, I said he's a bigger version of Bob Sanders. He was a huge factor for the Indianapolis Colts. The problem was that he wasn't always healthy, and that was similar to Jaquan because he plays with reckless abandon. Kevin Byard, his leadership, he's got so much added value. Like he's taken the ball away, and you saw how smart he was. He would bait quarterbacks into interceptions. And then this is one of your guys. Like, this is him buying into Ben Johnson was significant. And him with a guy that's got that type of resume, him being able to buy in and bring other people along on the buy-in, I think is great. And so the question becomes, where Jaquan's younger, and with Kevin, are you paying for the stuff that he did this season, and can you project that he can still do that? Do you feel comfortable? How long of a deal would you put together for him? You're probably right that they can only keep one of those guys because you're going to spend some money. I would probably lean Bayard, but it would be very close because Jaquan Brisker, if deployed right, and I think he's in the right defense now with Dennis Allen, that guy can be an absolute menace.
The defense does need a game wrecker on their defensive line. Max Crosby is a trade candidate, and he was gushing over Caleb Williams on his podcast this week. Take a listen.
When he started sprinting directly back, I'm like, it's over. And this threw it from the 40 over the DBs. That was one of the craziest plays I've seen ever.
What's our thoughts? Like, are you surprised that he didn't try and go for 2?
I'm not surprised, but I low-key in the back of my head, I was like, is this the best situation?
He's the one.
Especially after that much of a heartbreak. Like, you make that type of play,
yeah.
It, let's go for the game.
I think if Max Crosby were to be a Bear, Bears fans would love it even more. Are you a fan of the Bears going after Max Crosby to make him a Bear?
I would love if Max Crosby was a Bear, but I think that the cut we played earlier with Ryan Poles, I think he's low-key talking about the Max Crosby trade.
Max Crosby's name was said tongue-in-cheek after it, and he got so uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think that's probably what he was talking about. But Max would be great. And it's funny how that respect has grown from him playing against Caleb and both of those guys being like, man, this is the best player I played against. No, you're the best player I played against. To have him, and he's unhappy in Las Vegas right now. And we'll see what they do as far as head coach and stuff. But he is the type of player that could really change the dynamics. But what do you have to give up to get him? These are the things that Ryan Poles has to weigh when considering that he's got a lot of work that still needs to be done. You're not going to have a left tackle for a while. You're probably not going to have your middle linebacker for a while. So are you in a position to give up capital to make a move like that? If he does make a move like that, that feels like a big boy ready to win move right now. But I understand why he would be a little hesitant and go, well, let's see if there are other ways to fix some of these problems that don't cost us as much as it would cost us to get Max Crosby.
So to come, NFL awards finalists were named this morning, and Championship Sunday coming up this weekend. Westwood One's Nick Costas gives us his best bets when we come back on Chicago Sports Tonight. Welcome back to Chicago Sports Tonight. Time to bring in our betting analyst, host of You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports. It's Nick Costas. And Nick, we called you out for picking the Packers over the Bears in the wild card round. You got some redemption this past week with the Rams winning it in overtime.
Yeah, so it was nice for me that the Rams won the game, advanced to the NFC Championship game. But, and I don't say this derisively or dismissively. what a season by the Chicago Bears, like actually made this season a lot more entertaining for NFL fans. And I will say, Cassie, I know I picked against the Bears a couple weeks in a row to start the playoffs. For what it's worth, I did have the Bears to make the playoffs and to win the NFC North preseason. And I don't think, because a lot of people will say it leading into this offseason, into the summer, Bears forced a ton of turnovers and they won a lot of close games. And look what happened to the Washington Commanders year 1 to year 2. I don't think that's going to happen with this Bears team. Ben Johnson, too good a coach. As long as Caleb Williams stays healthy, I think the Bears will be a legitimate Super Bowl threat next season.
Let's talk about championship weekend and start in the NFC. Rams visit the Seahawks. Round 3, first meeting. Rams won by 2 after Seattle missed a game-winning field goal. Last meeting, Seattle had a 16-point comeback and won in overtime. What bets do you like in this one?
To Cassie, what's so interesting about this rivalry, and I do think that these are probably the best 2 teams left standing, and the winner of this game will ultimately win Super Bowl 60 and lift the Lombardi Trophy, is you can make a real case that the better team lost each of the regular season games that these 2 teams played. Now, Sam Darnold threw 4 interceptions in the first meeting, and the Seahawks still had a chance to win the game at the end. Like you said, the Rams ended up winning by 2 points, and not covering the spread in that game, I did bet the Rams in that game. And then certainly the Thursday night game that these 2 teams played towards the end of the season, that Seattle one. I think the Rams were very clearly the better team in that game. A lot of things went against the Rams, whether it's the Shaheed punt return, the ridiculous 2-point conversion that looked like it was a forward pass fumble by Zach Charbonnet, who will miss this game with the torn ACL. And I think it sets up a fascinating third meeting here with Seattle a little less than a 3-point home favorite. And Cassie, where I come down on this game, and this isn't if what I'm about to say here, and I acknowledge that, because we watched the Rams-Bears game, obviously, last Sunday night, and I don't think the Rams played their best game, and I don't think the Rams coached their best game. You know who agrees with me? Rams head coach Sean McVay, who went up to the podium after they won the game and said he didn't do a good enough job calling plays and coaching his team. I agree with him. And they barely beat the Carolina Panthers, Cassie, on Wild Card Weekend as a massive favorite on the road. So if the Rams go into Seattle and play and coach like they did in each of the first 2 playoff games, they're going to get killed. Like, they're going to get destroyed by a really, really good Seattle team that's a well-oiled machine. But, and this is subjective, if the Rams play their best game and the Rams give you an A effort, an A-plus effort, I think they're going to win because I think they're better than Seattle. And I think that's where the fun comes in handicapping this game and betting this game. Do you think the Rams will rise to the occasion, or do you think they're going to play average to above average like they have the first 2 weeks? If you think the latter, you should bet Seattle. But if you think the former, I think you should bet the Rams. I believe the former. I think the Rams are the best team. I trust Stafford more than I trust Sam Darnold. Give me the LA Rams, Cassie, not just to cover, but to win on Sunday in Seattle.
Let's talk about the AFC because quarterback conversation is interesting in that one. Jarrett Stidham to lead the Broncos to the Super Bowl, or Drake May and Vrabel, are they going to punch their ticket in their first year working together?
Well, once upon a time, my favorite football team growing up, the New York Football Giants in 1990 beat the Chicago Bears in the divisional round at the old Giant Stadium with the backup quarterback, Jeff Hostetler, en route to winning Super Bowl 25. So Broncos fans, I feel like, pop in the tape of Jeff Hostetler, or if you want a more recent example, Nick Foles a couple years ago for the Philadelphia Eagles. It is possible for a backup quarterback to lead his team to a Super Bowl victory. Now, do I think that's going to happen with Jarrett Stidham in Denver? I don't. I do think New England is likely to win the game. I think the Patriots will win the game on Sunday. But is New England going to cover the spread? That I'm not sure about. And Cassie, here's how I think you should think and how others should think about this game, right? Whether you agree with me that Denver can keep the game close or not. Denver with Bo Nix. So let's say Bo Nix doesn't get hurt at the end of the win over Buffalo. If Bo Nix is the quarterback for Denver in this game, the Broncos are a really small favorite, right? Let's say that they're a 1-point home favorite in this game. So now with Jarrett Stidham, the Patriots are almost a 5-point road favorite. And do you, Cassie, or you, the person watching this right now, do you think there's that big of a drop-off from Bo Nix to the backup quarterback? I'm not sure that's the case with a really good head coach in Sean Payton. So if I had to bet the side, Cassie, I would take the points with Denver. But my preferred bet is going to be the over in this game, where I think Sean Payton is going to sling it in this game with Jarrett Stidham. I don't think he's going to have a conservative game plan. And Drake May has shown that he can beat some of the best defenses in the league, like he did last week with a couple big throws on the Houston Texans defense. So my preferred bet, over 42.5. If I had to bet the side, I would take the points with Denver.
Okay, I love it. Hey, how about the Coach of the Year finalists? Ben Johnson, one of 5 of them, but Vrabel, He's the favorite. Does he run away with this?
Yeah, I think Mike Vrabel will end up winning Coach of the Year. And we normally don't get this where there's so many, like, really strong candidates and deserving candidates for Coach of the Year. And I really think, and you can disagree with this, and I mean that sincerely, right? I think it's all really subjective. Ben Johnson needed to win that Sunday night game in Week 17 against Kyle Shanahan and the Niners. Like, that was kind of like a Coach of the Year elimination game. So San Francisco wins that one. Johnson's eliminated. Then Kyle Shanahan needed to beat Seattle in Week 18 at home to win the NFC West and claim home field. And if he does, he wins Coach of the Year. They lose that game. The Patriots win the next day. They're the 2 seed in the AFC. I do think it will be Mike Vrabel that wins Coach of the Year. But look, for Bears fans, it's almost like, who cares who wins Coach of the Year? You have your coach in Ben Johnson. I do think Vrabel will win the award.
Yeah, he won Coach of the Year in our eyes. What about the other NFL honors with, like, Offensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, I think Offensive Rookie of the Year will almost certainly be Carolina Panthers wide receiver Tetairoa McMillan. Had over 1,000 yards on a passing offense that would have been totally lost without him there. Tyler Shuck, New Orleans rookie quarterback, came on strong at the end of the year, but lost to Atlanta in the final game. And Tetairoa McMillan and the Panthers went to the playoffs. I think McMillan will win Offensive Rookie. Defensive Rookie, I think, will be Browns rookie linebacker Carson Schweschinger, who had an awesome rookie season. Defensive Player of the Year, I think, will be Myles Garrett. Offensive Player of the Year will be Seahawks wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba, and I do think the MVP will be Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford.
So Drake May stands no chance at MVP.
I don't know if he stands no chance, and something that's interesting with MVP this year, we saw Matthew Stafford be the first-team All-Pro quarterback, and he got 31 votes, right, to be for the first-team All-Pro. Last year, we saw Lamar Jackson named the first-team All-Pro quarterback, and Josh Allen won MVP. So it's not impossible that Drake May could win Most Valuable Player, but to me, like, Lamar had won a couple MVPs already, and it felt like voters were kind of dying to award Josh Allen and give Josh Allen an MVP. I think this year, and you have to kind of because it's human beings making these decisions, right? Matthew Stafford this is kind of a really, like, nerdy analogy here. He's not quite like Susan Lucci, who was like the soap opera actress who, like, never won Best Actress in a soap opera. He's kind of like the Lifetime Achievement Award. He's never won an MVP award. He's at the end of a Hall of Fame career. And I think that if I'm a voter, I'm more likely to honor him than a second-year quarterback in Drake May, who, whether right, wrong, or indifferent, you can talk yourself into saying, like, May could win more MVPs down the road. Like, maybe that could happen. That's why I think Stafford's most likely to win the award this year.
All right, Nick Casas, we appreciate your time.
You got it. Wishing everybody Minimal Sweats winning bets the absolute very best of luck.
All right, and we appreciate you for joining us for Chicago Sports Tonight. Make sure to come back tomorrow for a special Bears season recap, and you can check out extended interviews on the Fox Chicago YouTube page. We'll see you tomorrow.